This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Today's episode of the Motor City Sports Rant is brought to you by Score, a new mobile app coming soon. Score is an interactive game that lets users win deals at bars and restaurants based on what's going on in live sporting events. Find new places to watch the game and save money on your bill at the same time by taking advantage of Score's unique interactive specials that give you an additional stake in the action. A Score special can be anything a location wants it to be, from 10% off an item if a team scores a touchdown to a free round of drinks if the quarterback throws for 400 yards. Any stat can be turned into a game. Pick the deals you want to win, watch the games you want to watch, and score deals in real time. The app will update when your teams or players record a relevant stat. When the conditions of your deals are met, coupons are sent to your device to show to your server or bartender. It's that easy. Score is coming to the App Store and Google Play very soon. For more information, check them out on the web at score-app.io. That's score-app.io. And follow them on Twitter and Instagram at Score Deals. Score. Watch games. Score deals.
Detroit is the greatest! Straight up light you on fire for a Coney dog right now.
Back with Neiman in front of him. McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! A magnificent goal! Darren McCarty!
Stafford takes, throws, end zone. Calvin, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of the Motor City Sports Rant on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. As always, I am Jason Jarvie. Follow me on Twitter at Jarvie the King. And across from me on this desk on this chilly Monday afternoon, John the Doc Macaroon. What's up, sir?
As the Lions head into the bye week, everybody in Detroit is like, thank God. Because of the fact that when we watched the game versus the Saints, it literally looked like the entire team was injured. I have never seen a game where a team faced off against their opponent and so many pieces, so many important pieces fell by the wayside to injury. It was an amazing contest to watch, one that I can't wait to talk to you about. But at this point in time, the Lions sitting at 3-3, everybody is just thankful we're at the bye week. I kind of am wondering and curious what the hell would have happened had the Lions had to play on Sunday. What kind of team would they have fielded? They might have called on you and I to go out there and do some things. My goodness. You know what? For me, though, watching that game, and I guess we'll start here, once I saw the inactive list and I saw that TJ Lang was not going to play, my heart sank. My stomach got into knots, and I'm like, oh boy, the Lions are going to take an ass whooping on this one, because even with TJ Lang, there were question marks regarding that offensive line and what they could do to protect Matthew Stafford. Him not being there opened the floodgates, and you saw Matthew Stafford probably have one of his worst performances in a long time, especially with the turnovers.
And I've said a number of times that if the Lions are going to be successful this season, it's going to really rely on them being healthy for the majority of the season and keeping those main key players healthy. And that's what we've seen the past couple of weeks, is that Matt Stafford has gotten beaten up a little bit. We've seen Jared Davis, he missed a game here and there. Who knows what offensive line we're going to trot out after the bye week. You know, is Taylor Decker going to come back? What's the status going to be of TJ Lang? If Stafford is going to play if he's going to go the rest of the season and he's going to continue to get hit like this, he's either not going to make it through the entire season, or we're going to see a lot of the same, where we're going to be behind in games, and we're going to have to rely on these miraculous comebacks that you can get some of them. And we nearly did it on Sunday, but you can't live and die by that, because more often than not, you're going to die by it.
What's your feeling regarding a game like that? I mean, obviously, there is a little bit of pent-up, frustration from a lot of fans because, wow, they were destroyed early on in that contest. I mean, early on in that game, Matthew Stafford is in his own end zone, and everybody saw it. They were like, throw the ball, get rid of it. And he wasn't able to, and that resulted in the Lions falling behind 7-0 when the Saints defender, stripped the ball, and the defenders fell on it for the early score. But for me, I wasn't as angry because of the fact that, yes, there were a plethora of injuries. Yes, you recognize that New Orleans at home can be decent. New Orleans seemed like they were hell-bent on performing well, doing a lot of things to, in effect, they kind of read what the Lions were doing on offense, and I feel like they executed their plan flawlessly. Now, when they did get out to the huge lead, the Lions did come back. They didn't fold. You give them credit, but I walk away from that game going, you know what? Stafford had the opportunity to, ride out that contest. Many of us felt like maybe we should not have played him, even after the first quarter when they were behind so much, maybe risking him for further injury. But I'm not as angry sitting here today. I'm a little bit just confused and concerned regarding this football team because, yes, there are a lot of holes on offense. The defense has been shredded, and you recognize it's just kind of like it is what it is kind of thing, where a team like the Lions, if you turn the ball over that many times, to your opponent and then it results in points, you're not going to come away with the victory. So I was entertained by the game. It was nice to see, but I don't sit here today feeling angry. I just have a lot of questions that I'm curious to get your thoughts on regarding Stafford, the offense, the offensive line, the defense. So there's just a lot of question marks, but that's just kind of where I'm at with it. The feeling I have, if I were to describe it in words, is just kind of confused and really, really wondering, what is this football team?
Yeah, and that's watching the game, going down 31-10 in the first half. With that, you're just not sure what you're going to get. You never know. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's absolutely awful. And that was one of the worst halves of football I've really seen the Lions play in a while. It was definitely exacerbated when I went on Twitter to see, what's everybody saying about the Lions on Twitter? And you see the Detroit Lions tweet out, "We got some work to do. Wasn't our best half." And they have the gif of Steve Harvey and just looking concerned. And I'm like, seriously, that's going to be the tweet that you send out? You were a professional football team, and somebody's running that Twitter account. Can I please? Can I put my hat into that? Can I get that job? Because I could do that.
What GIF would you have used to describe that first half?
Well, one, you're in the NFL. You don't do that. You don't put up something like that. I mean, I guess put up something, I don't know. Oh, let's get back into this one, and some stupid thing of, Matt Stafford rallying the team. But regardless of what I would have done, it's not what I would have pointed out on there. And then to start the second half, you give up. Saints come right back. They score another touchdown, and then Stafford throws an awful pick six. And at that point, that was the time I was like, Jake Rudolph's coming in. Even though it was pretty early in the third quarter, it seemed like there was really there's no point in Matt Stafford continuing to go out there. Even if they were to come back and make a game of it, it's unlikely that they're going to come back from 35 points down in like middle of the third quarter. Then obviously it starts rolling. Marvin Jones gets that ridiculous touchdown catch, which I think we did see a lot out of Marvin Jones. Part of it was probably because out of necessity, because you didn't have Golden Tate at that point. Eric Ebron is relegated. He's not the starter anymore. Darren Fells is the starter. So it's Marvin Jones or your host of TJ Jones or Jared Abbrederis. So Marvin Jones definitely stepped up in the second half. If there's one guy that I really liked out of that, is that he kind of showed that he still has a little bit of game left in there. And it really started, Jones gets a touchdown, Darren Fells gets a touchdown. And I remember I was with my family and we're saying, 21 points down, Lions are technically still in this with just over a quarter to go. And then obviously the Jamal Agnew punt return touchdown, and the ball all the momentum was on the Lions side. And then the Lions did, and I don't like to use this term, but it was very same old Lions. That Jamal Agnew, the punt comes down, he muffs the kick, it gets out to the one. We're lucky that it wasn't a safety, but then 2 plays later, Matt Stafford is gets a ball tipped in touchdown Saints. And that's essentially game over at that point.
Help me through this, because I was kind of shocked at the reaction we got on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. First and foremost, though, I do want to thank everybody that tweets along with us. We got a great interactive, fun Twitter account. I truly believe the most interactive sports Twitter account in all of Metro Detroit. At Detroit Podcast is where you can go to message us. We read everything. But I was quite shocked at the response that I got when I asked a simple question. And everybody really in the media, everybody really that was concerned about the future of the Lions had thought the same thing. I had just tweeted out, should the Lions bench Matthew Stafford? I mean, now we can argue about whether he was effective, whether the, dismantled offensive line is contributing to all this nonsense. We can talk about Matthew Stafford and the realistic discussion regarding his performance, and we'll talk about it. But just me throwing out that question, not me even saying yes or no, just asking that question brought about a lot of response for and against it. Now, my thinking was, if you'd asked me how would I answer my own question, I would have said, yes, get him out, because I had later tweeted out, if Stafford gets hurt further, this is a fireable offense on Jim Caldwell, because really, I know that a team wants to play 60 minutes, you want to keep everybody engaged, but
you have to factor in that Matt Stafford doesn't want to come out of the ball game.
Exactly. You're down 45-10.
No, he doesn't want to come out of the ball game. He wants to come back and win.
Exactly. But at the same time, you're the head coach, and your job is to look for the rest of the season. You saw that play where he got crunched in the ribs. He got further injured a little bit in that now, potentially speaking, we'll never know, but his ribs this morning have to be on fire. He must be dealing with a lot after a brutal game like that. And I felt like you exposed yourself to a risk higher than you needed to by keeping him in. I'm like, I don't care if you get frustrated, sit your ass on the bench. Rudolph's going in, and you wasted a potential opportunity to see what Jake Rudolph can do should Stafford have issues, because it's 45-10. You're getting blown out. It's a game where you're trying your absolute best to, keep it respectable, but you were losing a lot of players play in, play out. There was a significant chance you could have had a situation like Green Bay where, a defender comes in unmarked, unguarded, and he gets a free shot at Matthew Stafford, and Stafford's out with a broken collarbone or a further injury. So that was my thinking on it. I thought it could have been much worse for the Lions, and I felt like, the comeback to me didn't mean much, because at no point did I realistically think that the Lions were going to come back and win. And I had at least 5 dozen.
There's no. After they got that.
No.
After A'Shawn Robinson picks that off and gets in the touchdown, and it's a 7-point game, you really didn't think that they still had a chance? It's middle of the fourth quarter.
I had, if you follow along on our Twitter page.
I don't believe you, John.
Follow along on our Twitter page. I had said to somebody, someone was messaging me, oh, the fat lady hasn't sung. I said, look, if they win, you get a prize. I said to that person, because we've seen this before. This is not new. The Lions get behind, and what NFL teams do is they get into the prevent defense. They slow down mentally. They make a lot of mistakes. But when it's crunch time, when you're down that many points, the odds of the Lions actually coming back and making it a contest were pretty low.
At that point, it wasn't.
With no Golden Tate.
It wasn't offense, and it wasn't prevent defense. It was, you have the electric punt return by Jamal Agnew, brings it to 14. Then you get your defense backs them up into the goal line. Pick 6 for A'Shawn Robinson. 7 points at that point, midway through the fourth quarter.
But no Golden Tate, abysmal running game. Your number one tight end, Eric Ebron, stinks. At that point, Matthew Stafford's passes had been batted down at least 10 to 12 times. So I could not sit here and say I was confident at that point. I just thought that I was just hoping each play that was ran, that Stafford would not turn the ball over yet again for points, or that he would not get himself hurt. So that's why I'm thinking that, I'm asking you, why do people support the notion that Stafford should have stayed in that game? I don't understand it. I mean, literally, it was all for nothing. He padded his stats. He walks away from the field after throwing a pass that gets intercepted in the end zone. I mean, you really want him to experience that? I felt like he didn't need to experience any of that.
He can do whatever he wants. That's what he gets paid to do. He gets paid to go out, make a mistake, then go right back out and
there is something about confidence. I feel like that game doesn't instill confidence in him when all his passes are getting batted back in his face.
If his confidence is shaken, it didn't start with this game. His confidence has been shaken for the past couple of weeks because this offense hasn't been right for at least 3-4 weeks.
So why do you support the notion that Stafford should have stayed in the game?
I didn't initially. I said when it went up 45-10, I think Jake Rudock probably should have gone in at that point. But because they went in, Stafford was able to get 1 touchdown. He was able to get another touchdown to Darren Fells, and it's a 21-point game. And I think at that point, you can't give up. Because if at that point, Matt Stafford is still able to go.
Good for you. 45-10. Jarvis not giving up. No,
It wasn't 45-10. It was 24.
It got
So
up
you're
there,
down
yeah.
21.
It got up there. Yeah, they were able to come back and get cheap points. It really, in essence,
You're telling me
anything,
that you don't believe that this Lions offense hasn't had the ability in the past to score 3 touchdowns in a quarter? You really don't think that they have that ability?
in talking with you, I do understand that because of the fact that the Lions had a bye, might have played a part in allowing them to say, well, you know what, if Stafford does take a little bit more punishment, we got some time to heal up.
Answer the question, John. You say, so you don't think that the Lions ever had any chance of scoring 3 touchdowns in one quarter?
Yes, they did, but could they have tied the game? If you would ask me then, what's the percentage chance that they tie the game or they take the lead, which I asked on Twitter. A lot of people were laughing, sending me GIFs like, haha, it's over. For me, I thought 0. I didn't think that, even when Ashawn scored the touchdown, the next thought in my mind was, okay, what's the defense going to do to mess it up? I just felt like they didn't have...
After your defense is on a roll,
you
start getting back in the game, and you say, let's just chalk this one up as a loss.
Yes.
No, you're
At 45-10, I do that.
That's dumb, John.
No, 45-10, I chalk it up as a loss, and I'm saying to myself, look.
Yeah, 45-10, it's not, I'm talking about at the end of the third quarter, John. I'm not talking about 45-10.
At the end of the third quarter, I say to myself, okay, what's going on here? What's going to happen? I know there's 15 minutes left, but at that point, it was, 45-24 at that point?
At the end of the fourth quarter, yes, 45-24.
At the end of the third quarter, that's what it was, and... I still would have taken it easy because Golden Tate got hurt further. You had situations
after Stafford led those drives, scored the touchdown Jones, scored the touchdown Fells. You say, we're still down 21. We only have a quarter left. Let's bench Stafford. Let's just give up this game.
I think if you're looking at a long-term vision,
no,
you could have had potentially a lot more injuries.
John,
I feel like
I feel like I'm Vinny right now.
The risks outweighed the reward. The risks outweighed the rewards. Yes, you came away with it. Pretty much Stafford's okay going forward, but you risked him getting hurt further. I mean, you still sit here 3-3. So
you wanted the Lions to lose that game then.
At that point, when it was the storyline progressed that by the end of the first half, they were facing a huge deficit. So I don't want Stafford in there. I think by 2:00, most people were like, and were screaming, get him out. Why?
No, at the end of that third quarter, after they'd already started to make their comeback, you wanted them to lose that game.
I didn't want them to lose that game.
Yes, you did. You wanted them to take out Stafford. You wanted them to protect their future.
No,
you wanted them to just chalk this game up as a loss, put out Rudock, and see what you can get because you secretly hate Matt Stafford.
If I'm standing on the sideline, I already know that in my mind, the way my analytical mind works is I already know my odds of winning are like 8%.
That's the analytical mind
and then
of
I
a
say,
fan. It's the analytical mind of a fan. You're not a coach. If you were the coach of the Lions, you telling me that you would take out Matt Stafford when you had a chance to win the game?
I would have taken out Matt Stafford.
At 45-24.
Yeah, I would take him out. And then if you want to question me, I say,
then you would have been fired immediately.
I felt like, no, I say, look, there was a film where we thought that, you know what, realistically, our offensive line is patchwork right now. I felt like the risks of harming Matthew Stafford was significantly high. Passes were getting batted down. I felt like, I would even say potentially to fire Matthew Stafford up, I'd say Matthew was really ineffective at certain points, and we felt like we needed to go in a different direction because of the sheer number of turnovers and fumbles, and, something was going on in terms of Stafford's inability to get the ball, his inability to execute our short passing game. 12 batted balls is nothing to laugh at. It wasn't like he was just turning the ball over and the defense was falling on it. He was turning over the ball and resulting in points. So I could have talked my way out of it and gotten support. I felt like...
I'm pretty sure that if you got hired by an NFL team to be their coach, you'd be fired mid-season.
Mid-season? Oh, well, I feel like I would have at least protected Matthew Stafford further and got him further along where we need him to be, because at this point in time, are you concerned at all regarding Matthew Stafford and his plethora of injuries? Because when you see 12 batted balls, when you see the offense looking that lost without a running game, the short passing game is really out of sync. Kenny Galladay being hurt all the time is resulting in no deep threats. It's pretty predictable offense. I give New Orleans a ton of credit. They knew what was coming. Chris Spielman knew what was coming from the television booth. So it's on JBC. It's on, the entire offense. But mostly people are looking at that atrocious offensive line that's getting the Lions killed.
Well, that's why we go into the bye week and we have time to regroup. And it's only 3-3, and we're not even halfway through the season. So, and now we're dealing with an NFC North who
wide open, right?
It is. You have a Packers team without their best weapon in Aaron Rodgers.
How'd you feel when you heard the news? Broken collarbone.
I felt a little of satisfaction. I mean, I have no love for Aaron Rodgers. I do. I think he's an absolute asshole. I'm not going to mince words. I think he's a jerk.
That's unbelievable.
I think he loves to just rub it in the face of the Lions. Every time they play, he seems so smug, and I never want to see somebody get hurt, but Aaron Rodgers, I'm okay with that.
So I see that. I see the news, and right away, here's how it went down for us.
Also, I want to also point out, it seemed like somebody died the way that Fox covered it, because you kept seeing that breaking news. It's like, breaking news. And it's like,
did you see what happened? When someone along the caliber of an Aaron Rodgers goes down, I saw the report now on Twitter. They're considering now a rule change where even potentially a quarterback that's behind the line of scrimmage can't be touched anymore, not open anymore. Because here's what happens. You got to look at it like a business. Once a guy with the caliber of skills and drawing ability like an Aaron Rodgers goes down, nobody really is going to care about the Packers anymore. You got Hundley, who's not really that good. You got Callahan as his backup. People now find Green Bay to be irrelevant. It's bad for ratings. It's bad for the league. So, yes, when a guy like him goes down, the league takes notice, and people are going to look at how a play like that can go down and really hurt a quarterback.
So what do they want to change it to again?
Right now, when a quarterback leaves the pocket, they're free. They're considered a running back. So Barr has the free right to go and crunch him. It was a perfectly legal play.
Right.
What they want to change the rule to be is that potentially that any quarterback behind the line of scrimmage cannot be smeared like that, that they're considered, you got to, tackle them, or they're not considered, you know how it is when they
How do you
slide.
tackle them? I mean, if it's a clean tackle, it's a clean tackle.
Well, because of the fact that, you know how when they leave the when they're in the pocket, they can slide and not get hit, basically like that, behind the entire line of scrimmage.
He could slide, behind the line of scrimmage too, outside of the pocket.
Yeah, but they're saying that they want to protect the quarterback more, basically. That's what they want to do. And when a guy like Aaron Rodgers goes down, because look, when was the rule change regarding, contacting a quarterback beneath the legs? When Tom Brady,
last couple of years.
When Tom Brady lost, was out for a significant period of time. So when I heard it, right away I got like 15 messages, it's a broken collarbone. So I tweeted out there because I thought that somebody from Green Bay had officially put it. So I'm like, reports say that Aaron Rodgers has a broken collarbone. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is not from official. But a lot of people that follow us have had broken collarbones. So right when they went down, they seen the way he got up, at least 15 to 17 people messaged me within like 4 seconds and were like, we saw that. That's a broken collarbone. So when I saw that, I was like, no. You know why? I wanted to take
because you secretly love the Packers and hate the Lions?
I wanted to beat the Packers and take over the crown because of the old adage, to be the man, you got to beat the man. So for me, it kind of now feels like if the Lions are to win the NFC North, it just has the feel of an interim championship. It doesn't feel real.
Give me the victory.
No, I want to beat Aaron Rodgers at home.
Let's just get a victory first. You can only play who you play in front of you.
Yeah, but I wanted to have Aaron Rodgers be healthy so that if we were able to get that victory, that final game, and we win the division, it means a lot more. Now it feels
you're
like
just a picky, whiny fan.
No, it feels like
you want everything to be perfect for yourself.
It feels like we might back into it. And here's what opens up now. Don't you think the pressure on the Lions and Caldwell and Stafford goes significantly way up now that Aaron Rodgers is out? For them, now they have to win the division, because how are you going to lose a division when you got a quarterback like Trubisky, when you got a quarterback like Sam Bradford? You got backups.
Sam Bradford might not be playing again.
You got backups. So now the pressure is way ramped up on the Lions and everybody associated with the team, because I would expect at this point in time, is it fair to expect now that the Lions win the division?
I still think the Vikings their defense is good enough to keep them in games, and we've seen it before. Just look at the old school Ravens teams when they had Trent Dilfer as their quarterback. Their hallmark was their defense, and the Minnesota Vikings have a very, very good defense. So it's definitely opened the door up more for the Lions, and if we can get a little bit healthier off of this bye week, our main competition is really going to be the Minnesota Vikings, which we already have a W over them.
Did you see the tweet from Teddy Bridgewater? It seemed like he got some good news. On Monday, he tweeted out, something along the lines of some positivity regarding maybe a visit with a doctor. So people are thinking he's on his way back.
If I'm the Vikings, though, Case Keenum hasn't been awful. I would ride that Keenum train as far as it's going to take you, because Bridgewater's been off for over a year now. And it's going to take him time to get back into the swing of things. So I mean, I'm not a Vikings analyst. I'm not going to break down exactly what they have. They lost without Dalvin Cook. I think that was really their main thing, because Sam Bradford was a placeholder, and Case Keenum, he proved that he could throw the ball if he needed to. But Dalvin Cook seemed to really be the X factor for them, and with no Cook the rest of the season for them, I think that's a bigger loss than them not having a starting quarterback. So it's really going to be open, and it's going to be on what the Lions do these next couple of weeks and how they approach teams. They do have they have a big game coming off of the bye going up against the Steelers, and they're going to have to figure out a way to try and stop Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. And hopefully, I don't know. I think it's going to be one of those bend not break games, and hope that the defense doesn't give up too many points, and maybe the offense can get something going. Maybe we get Kenny Galladay back. Maybe gets another 2 touchdowns.
To wrap up the situation with Stafford, do you blame him at all for the turnovers? Because right away people are also defending Stafford, saying, look, it wasn't his fault. He did not, they weren't as mad at him for the couple turnovers that resulted in points. But even Jim Caldwell said it. People in the media have said it too, that Stafford didn't perform well at all. And just in that first touchdown that was given up when he was in the end zone, he kind of didn't have that internal clock like ready to go. Do you feel like there's a built-in excuse because the line has been terrible? There's really no bruising running back. But it just seems like because of the fact he's been sacked numerous times the last 3 games, it doesn't seem like Stafford and that short passing game is effective on any level.
I don't put it all on him.
How angry are you at Stafford right now, today?
I'm angry at certain things about Stafford. If you have to go between a 1 and a 10, I'd probably go a 4. Where I am a little bit angry at him, because I'm not going to blame him for all the deflected interceptions. Though definitely the one on the goal line that was just returned, that was a touchdown there. Not going to really blame him for that one. I'm not going to blame him for that dumb one where Theo Riddick just dropped the ball and Cam Jordan hit it with him, and then it just fell into the hands of the other guy. But the pick 6 that he threw early on in the game, that I don't know if that ball really needed to be thrown. And there are some, his mechanics just seem a little bit off. Whether he's rushing or it's because he's having to scramble around a ton. And it seems like whenever he gets sacked or goes down, he isn't wrapping the ball up, that he's always leading with the ball. And it's just, you're going to fumble the ball, man. So I want him to be better. And I think he will. He's going to take these next 2 weeks and just prepare and get ready. This next game off of the bye, it's really going to define the rest of the season, because you're sitting at 3-3, and if you can come off of the bye, get right, and get a big win against a big AFC team, I think it's going to start the ball rolling again for the rest of the season. But if you come off this bye with everyone expecting you to come back and be able to fix some things and get things right, then you're going to be below 500. And there's going to be doubts in everyone's mind, including the players.
Now let's check in on our thoughts regarding the general manager, Bob Quinn. Because as the season progresses, you're starting to see, Kenny Galladay can't get on the field. Tease Tabor is not contributing as much as we would like. You spent a significant amount of your resources in free agency on 2 offensive linemen, yet at this point in time, the line is atrocious. And now I know that the injury to Taylor Decker plays a huge part in why the line is atrocious, but you made it so that, the offensive line was supposed to be a little bit better so that a guy like Amir Abdullah can produce. Is Amir Abdullah producing? No. You had an opportunity to go out there, and people are now, I said it after week 1, and I took a lot of grief over just a simple tweet where I put out and I said, look, I saw with my own 2 eyes Kareem Hunt, and he didn't look like the average Amir Abdullah in his first game. He looked like he was running strong, breaking tackles. And so what has he done now? Only one of the handful of running backs in NFL history to have 6 straight consecutive 100-yard rushes in his first season. So he's doing some things that are unprecedented. And, I know people will say, well, running behind the Lions line, he might not have been that good. But what has been lacking, the final piece of the puzzle, has been a running game. We've asked for it. Everybody's asked for it that supports us. We're waiting for that final piece to help Stafford out in that, when Stafford is potentially hurt or lingering, you still don't have him throw that many times. You just hand off to a guy. If you handed it off to Amir Abdullah 35 times in a game, you know how many yards you'd have? 44. And that's the problem with not having a running game, is that you don't have the ability to do anything on your offense. I mean, literally, New Orleans figured out the Lions offense and were able to pin their ears back and do some things. So going forward, I'm really nervous at even when everybody comes back, in that now that this much and this amount of film has been put out there, I think teams have figured out that, this offense is predictable. They don't, if Galladay's not going to be on the field, we can do some things to limit Jones. We understand that the Lions basically are running 4 plays. One of them is the slant route to Golden Tate, and he can break some tackles. If they can, if a team can figure that out, you got the Lions offense solved. So in 2 weeks, yes, get healthy. 1, 2, you got to figure out the changes that are needed in that offensive scheme to make it less predictable. My God. And I've been railing about this for the last year and a half. I'm like, dude, this offense is putting me to sleep. It's a check down offense. This is an offense that is tailored to be in close games. It doesn't have to be this way. And I know others have said it as well, but I literally threw out 500 tweets last year that said this offense is boring. And the one thing I could have took it further was any average defensive coach could figure this out. And not right now, JBC is on the edge of potentially losing the support that he built up because of the fact that the offense is predictable. But going back to Bob Quinn, I think a little bit we might have been a little quick to kind of anoint him the king of Detroit. When you look at the draft, the first year was good. There are some key contributors. This go around, there are some players that are producing for other teams that could have been here in Detroit. And the couple picks that people are looking at is Tease Tabor and Kenny Galladay. Those 2 guys, maybe if you had different people, you could have had another defender, and you could have had Kareem Hunt. You could have had other people that might be contributing to this team right now. So I think my thoughts on Bob Quinn are, I might have to. I'm very satisfied with what he's doing, but in terms of looking at some of the flaws, got to pump the brakes a little bit on all the praise we've been giving him.
I think he still deserves praise, but this is his second or his third year.
I think his third year.
His third year. He still needs some more time to have his players develop. I'm not going to completely blame him for Tease Tabor not being immediately ready to play. He was a third round guy that we knew that the cornerbacks take time to develop.
Actually, he was hired January of 2016, so this is his second full season, his second draft,
second full season. So he still has guys that need to develop. And I'm not going to completely blame him for Kenny Galladay being injured all the time. Did I want Kareem Hunt when they drafted him? Absolutely. If you want to blame him for that, yeah, that was pretty dumb. You know who I also wouldn't mind them trading those picks for and moving up in the first round? Even though I like Jared Davis, I would have loved to see them make a big splash, trade up, and take Leonard Fournette, because just like Kareem Hunt has been doing with the Chiefs, Leonard Fournette has been solid for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he came out in the preseason and he was like, oh, the NFL it's not that hard, It's actually pretty harder in the SEC. And we've seen that in the first couple of weeks that he's been able to dominate teams. And the Jaguars, not a very good team, but Leonard Fournette is making them relevant. That truly is the missing piece. So the biggest thing that I will discredit Bob Quinn for is not bringing in any running back help and really trusting that Amir Abdullah and Theo Riddick can really solve that problem and be a tandem duo that's gonna be able to solve the problem for the Lions. They're not going to do that.
What's the fastest way to improve the Lions? Yes, get healthy, 1. Outside of that, what's the fastest way what could they improve? Who could get better? What's the fastest avenue to feel success in the next coming weeks? Next 2 games, at home on Sunday night versus Pittsburgh, then going on the road, I think Monday Night Football the following week after the bye, and then they play Green Bay. What's the fastest thing they can do?
They play the Steelers coming out of the bye.
Yeah, coming out of the bye, they play the Steelers on Sunday night. Then they go to Green Bay for Monday Night Football.
I think the quickest way to get better, it would be an interesting storyline, but call up Mike Tomlin and the Steelers and trade for Martavis Bryant.
You heard, huh? Yeah. He's not happy. I thought the same thing. You think a guy like that who's had issues staying on the field?
I don't care at this point. If you're going to score us touchdowns, and Bryant, he's a talent. When he wasn't suspended,
what do you think our fan base will approve that or nix that? What do you think? I'll check in 20 minutes.
I think they'd like it, but I could be wrong. But the dude can play, and I guess it does give us.
What does he bring to the table in your eyes?
He brings us a red zone threat. It's what Kenny Galladay is. Kenny Galladay is a big, deep red zone threat, and if he can't be out there right now, then we need to get something. We need that third option, because I think what we saw in that game is that everybody is essentially just covered, and if you have if a defense can play man-to-man and has everybody covered, Stafford stays in the pocket too long, or he has to scramble when the line breaks down and he gets hit, or he has to throw on the run and mistakes happen. We need somebody who, it should be Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron should be the guy who's posing all the matchup threats against defenses, but we know that he's not doing that. So, Golden Tate is always covered. Marvin Jones is always covered. And then between TJ Jones and Jared Abbrederis, we're just not getting guys who are capable of being that third wide receiver. Last year, Anquan Bolden was huge for this team. And I think if we had one of those dependable veteran wide receivers on our team, we might be in a better position right now. But because we're still waiting for that to develop, Stafford has nobody to throw to.
Wasn't Sunday a wild day in the NFL? You had Chicago beating Baltimore. The Giants get off the schneid. They defeat Denver in the Sunday night matchup. It was kind of a wild day across the NFL. Anything else catch your eye?
The one thing that caught my eye, I pull up my ESPN app and I'm looking through the headlines and I see, Jets are unhappy about a touchdown getting reversed on a late rule.
What fumble, Jason?
And I'm like,
did you look at it?
I got to look at this because this sounds eerily familiar. And it's a guy going into the end zone, fumbling, and not getting possession before it goes out of bounds, and you get the whole touchback rule. I'm like, no, Jets. You don't get to be mad. We're the ones who are mad about that. You're just you're late to the game right here.
Who gets the game ball? Who gets Jarvis' game ball for the Lions' performance against the Saints? I know there were few and far between, but there were a couple of players on defense that you could highlight in terms of their performance. But for you, who gets Jarvis' game ball this week's matchup, Lions versus Saints?
This week, I got to give it to Marvin Jones. I think you can give it to, I like Marvin. I like what he did. I like what Golden Tate did in the first half, even before he got hurt. Love that touchdown run. I mean, that's the pinnacle of what Golden Tate can do for you. And obviously, I love Jared Davis on defense, but I think Marvin Jones this week, he showed that he's still a capable NFL wide receiver. If we can ever get completely healthy and have some decent play calling, some more imaginative play calling, we always call for it for Michigan State as well, that we're unimaginative. We're what we're doing first, second, and third down. And maybe we throw up a few more fly routes to Marvin Jones and just give him some jump balls. And even if he doesn't, maybe he draws the penalty. Marvin Jones game ball this week.
Marvin Jones game ball. The bye week. Are you going to do anything special this next weekend without having Lions football? I am going football free on Sunday. I'm probably going to watch Michigan State perform, and then I'm going to watch State on Saturday, and then on Sunday it's just going to be family day. Saturday, the grandparents are taking the two kids, so I get out of work at 2:30. I'm working primarily in the morning, and I'm going to have a fun day with the wife, just relaxing. We might just stay in our PJs from 3 on, just stay at home and just sleep, stay away from our phones. Sunday, might go out to, the orchards or go out and do some things, maybe pick some apples, find some pumpkins, do fun stuff like that. But I'm happy for me, the bye week is here. I'm just going to spend some time with the family. And I always kind of now get excited for the bye weeks and such because it's kind of a chance to reset, get away from the fury of watching football. I'm taking a bye week from football.
Well, Saturday I'm actually going to be down at Ford Field.
Oh, for what?
My nephew, he plays football for St. Isaac Jogues, and they made the Prep Bowl, which is kind of like their playoffs. So he's playing down there 8 a.m. on Saturday. So I'm going to go check him out and root the Chargers on.
Nice.
Anything it's the Chargers against the Chargers.
Do you take the opportunity to watch other teams maybe that are quality, check in on maybe the Bears or check in? Because usually they'll put on the Bears or Green Bay. Do you find Green Bay to be an interesting storyline, or you tune them out because of their situation?
I will tune in at least to see what Brett Hundley can do because coming out of college, I actually didn't mind Brett Hundley. I thought he was a pretty solid quarterback at UCLA. I'm not going to count out the Packers just yet until we see what's on the field. I don't think you can really count them out because you saw what they used to do. Who was the quarterback that just absolutely shredded the Lions when Aaron Rodgers went down before? It was the guy who went to Seattle. He got the huge contract from Seattle and never actually played for them.
Flynn, baby. I watched that game.
Flynn, that's
I remember watching that game going, oh my God.
For like 500 yards.
Yeah.
So the guy's been in the system for a while. So it's going to be interesting to see. They got Jordy Nelson, they got Randall Cobb and Devontae Adams, and if they can get their running back situation back, the Packers may not be out of this division race just yet.
I put on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, should the Lions contact Pittsburgh and look to make a trade for wide receiver Martavis Bryant? Early, it's kind of a mixed bag. 53% have say yes, definitely call. 47% say no, focus on the offensive line. So let's see the first comment that came through here. Oh, we got a GIF of my favorite, Daniel Bryan wrestling with the two hands up in the air going, yes, yes, yes.
I mean, it would have been nice if we would have made a different trade like a week earlier with the New Orleans Saints for Adrian Peterson. But no, we weren't that forward thinking.
Jason, he would have been out. 8th run of the game, he would have probably twisted his ankle and been out. I mean, that line was getting shredded. I mean, you had...
It's not that much better than what the Cardinals have.
Yeah, well, I feel like they were set up for success because did you expect 100-plus yards and the production he gave?
I'm not surprised by it. Is he still AP?
See, look, we're ahead of the curve. Very good, Jason. Someone else just tweeted at the Lions, a person with a lot of influence, and it said, hey, Lions, go after him. So we're right on top of it. I think that good, healthy football discussion. I think next week we can focus our attention a little bit on some other things, maybe the Pistons, Wings, get your sense of the early 4-1 start. Pretty good, 8 points. Maybe we'll talk about that next as well, along with our talk regarding Michigan State and the amazing victory versus PJ Fleck in Minnesota. Stay with us.
Maybe we can also talk about rooting for a team that's not a Detroit team.
Stay with us. You're listening to the Motor City Sports Rant on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Jason, I want to tell you about our host site, Podomatic.com. When Adam and I first started this project, we were looking for a great place to host all of our recorded audio, and thank goodness we found Podomatic.com. At this point in time, we've recorded well over 600 to 700 weekly podcasts, and we've placed all the audio in one spot, Podomatic.com. Why do you ask? Great interface, very easy to use. I mean, Jason, we record this podcast, and within 5 minutes after we're done, we'll upload it to our host site, generate great links so that all of our supporters across the country and even overseas can listen to all of our content. If you're looking to start a brand new project, you're looking around and you're going, man, Detroit Sports Podcast has been around since 2013. I see people that I used to listen to, like Terry Foster, doing podcasts. A lot more are popping up. I should do one of these. Definitely Doc and Jock. All the hosts on the network, we're going to recommend one host site, Podomatic.com.
Last night took an L, but tonight I bounce back. Wake up every morning, about the night I count stacks. Knew that ass was real when I hit it, bounce back. You ain't getting checks. Last night took an L, but tonight I bounce back. I've been broke as hell, catch the check and bounce back. D-Town LA.
Motor City Sports Rant, Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
So did I hear you say before the break that you're a trader? You watch other teams not Detroit-based?
I didn't say watch. I'm rooting for a team, not a Detroit team.
Are you rooting for the Astros?
I am.
Shame on you.
Justin Verlander is dealing. And
it was a quality performance, but I'm not rooting for him. No, hell no. That would hurt more, man.
He's probably the first player at least in my lifetime, that has been traded away or left the team that I actually want to see succeed. Okay. I think, and part of it is because he was traded, and I don't think he really had any. It's not like he went out and was like, "Hey, I want to be traded," or he didn't want to be a part of the team anymore. I think he was a guy. He gave his time to Detroit, and he wanted to get the win here in the Motor City, just to see, being traded and in this postseason what he's doing on the Astros. I think it's great for him. I want him to succeed.
See, I saw that performance and it just hurts more because of the fact that it just brings back the memories of when the Tigers were successful in doing that versus the Yankees. Now to see it versus the Astros, to see Kate Upton celebrating in the Houston box, it's just, I'm not rooting for them.
It hurts, but it's not Justin Verlander's fault.
Part of me kind of wants them to get to the World Series and lose. That would kind of, bring it full circle. That would bring it full circle to me. Be like, yeah, that's what we know and see, is that he gets to the World Series, Game 1 versus the Dodgers, and they go off for like 10 runs on him. We know that feeling, that JV. Shame on you. For me, my rule of thumb is this: no B teams. I don't root for any teams outside Detroit. I'm a Pistons fan, Lions fan, Red Wings fan, Tigers fan, Michigan State supporter, and everything else that's, in the minors, that, soccer and all that. If it's a Detroit-based team, you got my support. Any other team, I have no affiliation for, other than I like watching quality matchups in the postseason. That final World Series game last year was amazing, with the rain delay, with the home run that was hit to tie the game, and then going extra innings. I was in love. I like great contests, but I don't give any support, absolutely none, to no team outside of Detroit. And if you do, shame be falling on you.
Well, whatever. You're the one who wanted the Lions to lose yesterday.
I did not want them to lose. I wanted them
them to give up. That's right.
Short-term loss for long-term gain.
That's right. You wanted them to lose.
It's a different strategy.
I don't call that rooting for my home team.
You're a gambler, and so you're willing to shove all your chips in the middle. And yesterday, you got them back. That's fine. But sometimes when you shove all your chips to the middle, you go bankrupt, and you could have had a big problem. Of my $100,000 stack, I would only bet 50, and I would have took the safe approach. You're a little bit more of a gunslinger. I can respect that, but the one time you play with fire, maybe Stafford will not walk back to the sideline. He might be carted off the field. So,
well, good thing it's not actual money.
What do you think of the Red Wings?
I am excited.
Good start.
4-1. Nobody expected it. They're tied with 6 other teams at 4-1. But yeah, I love it. I love that we're actually getting some solid goaltending.
Yes,
we're getting scoring from some people that it's not just Zetterberg or Dylan Larkin. I think Martin Ferk he's definitely going to be a storyline this year if he stays with the team. But yeah, I love it.
We all got to hope that Jimmy Howard stays healthy, because when he's healthy, he can do some things, and the team is playing a lot better brand of hockey. You're seeing a lot more play in the opponent's zone. You're seeing them capitalize on some scoring opportunities, a little bit better on special teams, and yeah, hopefully they can keep it up. A key marker always, in the East, is playing a team like Tampa Bay. They play them Monday night. I hope they compete. It's a real rivalry, and it'll be the first matchup at Little Caesars Arena between the Red Wings and Tampa Bay. But you're exactly right. I feel like seeing the Red Wings perform has been fun. It's been good to peek into them. I hope they do prove a lot of people wrong. Keep racking up those points, and you got to keep hoping that Jimmy Howard and his groin can continue to stay healthy. I am disappointed, though, in Mrazek. He hasn't been atrocious, but you see a definite drop. I don't like to see it when you go to your backup and you see a drop-off. I was like, Jimmy Howard's making better saves.
Well, the majority of the NHL, you go to your backup, and you're not going to get the...
But do you want to view Peter Mrazek as a backup? Is that really what we got to... Because I kind of view him as I still view him as a guy that has potential, but it seems like many people and their patience is waning on a guy like that, because obviously Jimmy Howard's better.
Once we let him to be protected for that, for the draft, the entry draft for the Vegas Knights, I was expecting Mrazek to be gone. So at this point, anything we get from him is really just gravy. And unless he can really fight back and prove that he's going to be, a starting goaltender or a quality goaltender for this team, I'm okay with Jimmy, going out there every night and giving us a pretty good shot at winning.
See, now look, you were just talking about the Lions and their social media. You know what just came across the wire? Golden Knights apologized for sexist tweets. They were in poor taste. And, I became aware of their social media because they were poking fun at the Red Wings, kind of talking about the Knights and the Red Wings both are coming off of a season where they didn't make the postseason. Ha ha. The Golden Knights weren't around last year. But let's look at this. It says the Vegas Golden Knights apologize about 18 hours after the team's social media department released a series of since deleted sexist tweets. Unbelievable.
Yeah, wasn't it? They announced the Bruins starting lineup with female names.
Yep, Mandy, Marilyn, Brittany. The next line, the Bruins. Yep, here it goes. 2 of the tweets verified by USA Today read, and they put a tweet out saying the Bruins forward lines: Mandy, Marilyn, Brittany, Tiffany, Candace, Brandy. Oh boy, all the tweets were deleted, and it goes to show you that here's what makes us successful. And I guess you have the access to the Twitter. Vito does as well as Adam and myself. But what makes us successful and what makes us, I think, popular is that we're behind it. You know what I mean? I feel like if you're running a team's social media account, you gotta be careful to write this stuff. Now, we can write anything we want because we're in charge. I am the guy behind the Twitter account, and I am, one of the founders of the company. So I feel like if you're not, then you gotta be careful with what you tweet. You can't write that in this day and age. Did you hear the joke from Al Michaels regarding Harvey Weinstein? Oh my God,
that was rough.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I get it. And I said it with the Lions, is you have to be careful with what you're tweeting when you're a professional team or an organization, whether it's a business or whatever. You can't put out dumb stuff.
You can't put out that kind of stuff. How do you hit send when you do that? You think it's funny? I mean, I do jokes. I mean, have you been watching? Do you see the DSP text of the day?
Yes.
A little bit offensive, but
lame.
What? Oh, let's get into it. You're not fond of my bit there?
I think it's a little lame.
Really? Why?
Just a little.
Do you get the corniness of the jokes?
Do you get the corniness of the jokes. That's why it's lame.
Listen, anything that shows up.
I get it, man. You're a dad. It's a dad joke. You love those corny jokes.
It's a joke. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, I don't put up bits that are not supported. People like them. They view the videos that me and Vito do. They view the quick hitters that we do. They view the DSP text of the day. And, to reveal a little bit of it, it is a bit, some of them could be real, some of them could not be real, but they do tend to be a little bit funny. Don't you tell me the Miguel Cabrera unprotected one was kind of funny? A little bit of the the sarcasm behind it. Come on, that was funny.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
You don't laugh, or you scroll across it and go, "Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous."
I roll my eyes a little bit, but let's talk about the Wings a little bit more.
Okay,
I am a fan. I like the way that the lines have been put together. I love seeing Abdelkader and Helm on the third and fourth lines because they have no place on the first or second line. And I have this debate with a guy at work that he feels that Abdelkader and Helm are like first and second. They deserve to be first and second line guys, and it's like no. Abdelkader. The only reason he was on that top line is because of Datsuk, and he was keeping him protected. Abdelkader, he thrives as a third line guy.
So are you genuinely surprised at the 4-1 start?
I mean,
they haven't played great competition, but they're playing teams. I mean, Vegas was undefeated at the time they played them
because everyone assumed that just like when the Lions started the season, that everyone thought that the defense was going to be awful. They've kind of found their level in these past couple of weeks, but I think everyone kind of assumed that the Wings were going to be in for another year of trying to get back into the swing of things. They're going younger. And I think it is a surprising start. I do think probably in the coming weeks we'll see stuff level out. But as everyone's healthy right now, and that's all you can really be happy with.
And you do see a couple of the old wrinkles that we saw last year that continue to pop up. I mean, turnovers in their own zone, trying to get the puck out. You do see teams like Vegas that can put the puck in the net, take advantage, and get some pucks past our goaltenders. But all in all, I do think that the Lions, like you said, are performing well. The goaltending has been solid. And the special teams, in terms of power play and penalty kill, have been better than last year. So far, so good.
Yeah, and I want to know if the DSP can fund a trip to Vegas for me to go see the Wings and take on the Knights.
Oh, they play them again? Oh,
I want them to.
Yeah. How many times do they play?
Probably at least twice.
So Vegas is in the West, obviously, right?
Yes.
Okay, so they're not going to be too often. I think that's it then. I think don't they play? I'm thinking old school where you play the teams in the West just twice, once on the road, once at home.
Well, just pay for my trip to Vegas
next year
so I can go. No, like in the next couple weeks.
Next couple weeks. They already played Vegas, man. They played them once.
I'm just going to go to Vegas then. I'll just go see a game.
Just go see them.
I don't care.
But who's anybody been an unsung hero besides Jimmy Howard that's caught your eye? Burke. Yep. Anybody else?
I think Mantha's starting to step up
Green with all
more.
The assists. I mean, dude is assisting on all the goals.
And that's when Cronwell's not going to do anything. Mike Green has definitely stepped up and been that number one defender. Anthony Mantha, I think him being there and being productive, he's going to be a big part of this team.
Anthony Mantha continues to be a guy that people are looking at. It's going to be a fun couple weeks for them. Continue to rack up points and play well versus your rivals. Being in the East, man, it's a tough grind too, man. It's a tough thing. You're going to have to get 95 points plus to even start sniffing the postseason, right?
What would you take? Would you take the comfort of being in the East, even though it's tough competition. It's you get to play in your own time zone, or would you take playing in the West and having your main competition be Chicago and maybe Nashville?
Well, obviously we had more success being in the West. Right now, the East has been really tough, especially facing the likes of Boston, Tampa Bay. You do see them being younger and more physical and a lot more speed in terms of what they are able to do. So the East has been super tough. So looking at it, do I like the move to the East? I do like watching a lot more games that start at 7:30. But in terms of the success of the team, I wouldn't mind if they went back to the West, to be honest with you.
Well, we'll see. So Michigan State last weekend.
Great to see Michigan struggle. They got a lot of work to do. Obviously, it starts with O'Korn in that offense. But, thank goodness they found Higdon after the Michigan State game. We don't have to deal with that mess because that guy's fast as all hell. That guy could have put up some yards if they had realized how to utilize him. But Michigan's their own thing. We have a show, the Michigan Podcast, that airs every Tuesday on our network. But in terms of them, I'm fascinated that they opened up as an 11-point underdog versus Penn State.
They're going to get killed.
Game day on the road at Penn State. I hope they do.
I'm going to say it right now. I think it's going to be a 2-touchdown game.
Yeah, baby. Let's hope so. But in terms of looking at Michigan State, great quality win versus Minnesota. I felt like
you're not worried at all
about
that they let Minnesota get back in the game.
They weren't able to
close it out.
I focused on L.J. Scott, Madre London. I like the fact that L.J. Scott was able to hold on to the football and get the 2 touchdowns, and he looked solid. That looked like a Michigan State team of old that was able to do smash mouth things and take advantage of defensive turnovers and score points. So, they let Minnesota hang around, but you got to remember, going on the road is super tough against anybody. So to walk away with the victory is amazing, and the way they won was a high quality victory. I'm liking what I'm seeing in terms of the evolution of Michigan State, and people are saying, "Look, did you guys recall? When the season was upcoming, that D'Antonio was confident. He had a little bit of swagger about the team. He was talking like there are some players on this team, and already to only have one loss at this point in the season is very impressive. And I'm excited about the future. I like what I'm seeing, and when you had the rebuild and you had the situation coming off of a 3-loss season, there were a lot of question marks, and a lot of people weren't confident in Mark D'Antonio, but he's done a great job in turning it around. And to go out there to Minnesota and to, defeat PJ Fleck and that program that he's starting to develop, it's a great win.
And I think if anything you want to be excited about on the Spartans, I go with the defense, because I think that's probably the hardest thing to really to generate and to really get momentum with. And I think that after that Michigan game, I think something changed with them, that they really got the confidence that they can hang with anybody. I think that's going to carry over the rest of the season. And if they do somehow able to make it into the top part of the Big Ten, or even if it's just a pretty solid bowl game, their defense is really going to be key the rest of the way.
What's upcoming for Michigan State? Who's on the schedule?
They got Indiana coming up this Saturday at home.
Oh, okay, I feel like
Indiana and Northwestern. So they got another 2 games, not too difficult, and then you get your big run. You got Penn State and Ohio State.
Thank goodness Clemson lost. That was awesome to see, right? Clemson, a little bit overrated. Syracuse went in there and handled their business. And hey, college football, I do think when people look at it, there are a lot more situations where upsets can happen, and when you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-old kids, a lot of things are in play there. But it's not an easy feat there for these young kids to be super consistent, and it does put into focus when you do have a coach like Mark D'Antonio. You got to appreciate that he's been around and that he put a system in place that can be replicated a little bit more often than not. And I don't want to sit here and take him for granted anymore. He's a quality head coach, and for him being around as long as he has, you got to remember, in his 3rd year, he had the Michigan State having some success and playing for championships. So to have him around this period of time, we're very lucky as Spartans to have Mark D'Antonio, and the future looks bright.
Yeah, and I really think it's flipped for the coaches of Michigan. I think at the beginning of the season, you would have said that Jim Harbaugh has a free pass to go really do whatever he wants, and D'Antonio really needed to do something to get himself off the hot seat. Well, he's done something, and I'm I'm back on the D'Antonio train that he can pretty much stay in as a Sparty as long as he wants. He's gonna die a Sparty. And Jim Harbaugh, on the other hand, I think people are getting a little concerned.
People are concerned regarding at least, hey, you're billed as this offensive guy, and why is it that Higdon's coming out versus Indiana instead of versus your rival? Why is it that John O'Korn is a guy that couldn't make it in Houston, and he was just brushed aside, and you bring him on as a project or something? Or what is it? People at Michigan, they're actually the best part, like I told you before and others, it's great to see the infighting among Michigan fans, because a lot of fans want to just go to Peters and just call it a wrap because you lost the state. You're not winning the Big Ten. You're not winning. You're not getting to the postseason this year. So they're like, dude, let's just start focusing on 2018. What's the closest avenue we got? And I can respect that point of view. But Jim Harbaugh is like, dude, we got to focus on this year too. We can win some games. And there's going to be ugly games.
And I saw an article talking about that as, why don't they just go to Peters? And I think one of the Michigan writers said that if Peters is going to overtake, he will, he's going to do it. He would have done it already.
Yep.
Why wouldn't he already be the starter? And I think in the next couple of weeks, and maybe throughout the rest of the season, we're going to start to hear about Jim Harbaugh being a little overrated. And I had a conversation with a buddy of mine about how did Jim Harbaugh just kind of luck into getting a guy like Andrew Luck? Because they tout him as this quarterback whisperer. He had a guy like Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was going to be good on any college team. And then he goes to the NFL. Alex Smith wasn't, he had some bad years, but he was also the number 1 overall pick at one point.
It's nice to hear.
He has some talent.
It's nice to hear some comparisons. People thought that they got Nick Saban and Urban Meyer, but people are now starting to compare him to John Cooper as a guy that can be a rah-rah coach, but when it comes to the big, huge game, can be a guy that doesn't necessarily do what it takes. And I do think that right now people are starting to explore, well, in-game, is this guy really effective? Because, outside of the program, as a marketing figure, as a guy that can represent a program, amazing. You don't want anybody better because he gets eyes on Michigan. But at some point, you got to produce on the field. And it took 3 years and another loss to Michigan State for people to go, whoa, whoa, whoa. When you pass the ball 8 times in the rain with John O'Korn, people are scratching their heads going, nobody in their right mind would do that. Even State wouldn't try that. So the pedals are off the rose, and now people are being critical of Jim Harbaugh, and it's well deserved. He needs to be criticized because of the fact that you got to produce. And when you're making $9 million and you're allowed to do whatever you want and have 2 assistants making $1 million, whoa, back up a little bit. When you lose to State and you lose in that fashion, a couple years ago, and then this year by getting out-coached in essence, people are going to be looking at you a little bit more cross-eyed. You're not the boss anymore, basically. You're now in the crosshairs where people are going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. Do you really want to spend $1 million on Pep Hamilton? If they lose badly to Ohio State, one of those assistants is going to be gone.
Should be, yep. And it's going to be, I love it as a Sparty.
It's great, right? It's amazing. Let's continue I love seeing the Michigan fans squirm. I love seeing the infighting, fans back and forth, kind of wondering the nature of the program. It's a great time, man, all around. Oh, that was a fun podcast. I wish we had a little more time. But since we don't, let's wrap this baby up.
Well, for what number is this?
Oh, you're going to make me look. Hold on. It's probably 124 or so. What number do you think?
127.
Yeah, we should announce it right at the beginning of the show. It is episode number 125.
Well, that's still a pretty decent number.
125, baby. Let's keep it going.
Well, until next week in episode 126, let's listen to this podcast before we get to there so we actually know what number. Anyways, he's John. I'm Jason. Later.
Okay, nice, idiot. F you. Bye-bye.
Good day, sir. I said good day.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then. Loser.